The sound of the ribbon snapping was supposed to be the crescendo of joy. It was my 21st birthday, and the entire New York City elite, the tech giants, the financial elite, were watching. My parents, Helen and Robert, stood beaming. They gestured toward the colossal gift covered in a gold sheet. My twin brother, Kyle, stood beside me, his face alight with anticipation. The sheet was pulled away. There sat a pristine, midnight black BMW 7 Series. The crowd applauded wildly. My parents embraced Kyle, shouting, "You earned this, son. This is the future." Then my mother, Helen, turned to me. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. She reached into a small, velvet bag and pulled out a single, neatly folded object, a rag. It was a dirty, torn piece of cloth, used for cleaning garage oil. She held it out to me. Her voice, sharp and clear, cut through the residual applause. "And this, Kira, is your gift. The gift of emotional value. You always chose the arts and emotions over business. Now you can use this to clean your brother's success. This is your worth." The entire ballroom froze. The humiliation was absolute, public, and unforgettable. My brother, Kyle, didn't defend me. He smirked, clutching the car keys. That moment, that rag in my hand, was the birth of a cold, final promise. My name is Kira. And they didn't know that my silent tears would cost them far more than the price of a BMW. This is a story of sibling rivalry, unforgivable parental cruelty, and a legal revenge plan that took down a financial empire. They thought they had broken me with a rag. They didn't know that I was about to use their own law books to wipe out their future. Before I reveal the shattering financial secret that made my brother scream, tell me, what is the cruelest gift you have ever received? Comment below. If you believe public humiliation deserves public ruin, hit the like button and subscribe right now. The insult of the rag wasn't just a moment. It was the final, devastating chapter of my childhood. I, Kira, had always been the emotional currency in our New York City home. My twin, Kyle, the logical tech genius, was the real asset. I looked at the BMW, shimmering under the event lights, and then down at the filthy rag in my hands. The sight of Kyle's smirk, his possessive clutch on the keys, confirmed that he was a willing participant in my destruction. Helen, my mother, and Robert, my father, had calculated every move. They wanted to ensure that my pursuit of an art career was officially labeled worthless in the eyes of their wealthy peers. I didn't utter a word of defense. I simply dropped the oil rag onto the floor, turned my back on the entire ballroom, on the BMW, on Kyle, and on Helen and Robert, and walked out. I walked past the shocked faces of my parents' business partners, past the waiters, and out into the biting cold of the New York City evening. My first act was definitive. I cut them off. I blocked Kyle, Helen, and Robert on every channel. My emotional life was over. Now only the law mattered. The next day, I didn't cry. I pulled out my law school application materials, the same ones I had put on hold to work and help my family after the last recession. I had spent years analyzing legal loopholes, financial documents, and corporate structures, not for a degree, but for survival. I began my work. My target, the Wells Family Trust, the very foundation of my parents' immense wealth. My revenge had to be surgical. It couldn't be traced back to mere sibling jealousy. The core of the problem lay in the Wells Family Trust. My parents weren't just wealthy. They were desperate. Robert's primary venture, a massive New York development project, was secretly leveraged against a loan with highly aggressive terms. If that loan defaulted, they would lose everything, including their reputation in New York City. The first lie, the BMW wasn't a gift. It was a distraction. They needed Kyle to look successful and stable so he could secure a co-signing loan from his wealthy fiancé's family, the DeVises, to cover their own sinking debt. They were selling Kyle as a commodity. The second lie, the rag wasn't about my emotions. It was about ensuring I remained poor. My grandmother, in a moment of foresight, had tied a separate, smaller $1 million trust exclusively to the grandchild who pursued an unconventional career and demonstrated strong moral character before age 35. My career in the arts qualified me. Helen and Robert feared that if I claimed the trust, it would expose their own tax fraud related to the Maine Wells Trust. They needed me to be a failure, so the $1 million would remain dormant. I had access to old documents from my father's previous legal battles. I focused on one specific acquisition my father, Robert, had made 15 years ago. It was a massive land deal that formed the basis of the Wells Trust. The legal bomb: I discovered a fatal flaw in the original land acquisition deed, a restrictive covenant regarding environmental cleanup that was never disclosed. If exposed, this covenant would invalidate the entire land deed, exposing the Wells Trust to millions in civil penalties and legal invalidation. The moment that flaw was exposed, the entire structure of my father's empire would collapse. My parents were frantic. They called, emailed, and sent my aunt to my old apartment. They weren't looking for me out of love. They were looking for me to sign a paper waiving my rights to the $1 million trust and ensuring my silence about the public humiliation. I was already gone. I moved into a temporary, anonymous space far outside the New York City orbit. My work was meticulous. I contacted a former environmental law professor and anonymously requested an audit of the old land acquisition in question. The professor confirmed the covenant was violated and the liability was astronomical. I only communicated through encrypted channels. My final message to my parents was sent via a burner email. I am safe. I will be in contact when I am ready. Do not search. They misinterpreted the message as a sign that I was too broken to fight back. The ideal moment for my revenge was during Kyle's graduation, where he would be celebrated as the future of Seattle, or another prominent city, where he was now based. However, since we are keeping the city anonymous, the climax will happen at a massive Wells Corporation investor gala in a grand hotel ballroom. I walked into the gala, not in a simple dress, but in a stunning, custom-made gown, a visual embodiment of the $1 million trust they thought I didn't deserve. Kyle was on stage, accepting an award. He looked triumphant, arrogant. Helen and Robert looked ecstatic, their debt worries temporarily forgotten. I waited until Kyle finished his speech and raised a champagne glass to his parents. I then walked swiftly toward the stage. Security tried to stop me, but I presented a sealed envelope bearing the crest of the city's highest court. The announcement: I didn't shout. I simply handed the envelope to a waiter and asked him to deliver it to Robert on stage. The envelope contained the legal filing exposing the environmental restrictive covenant and the notice of imminent civil litigation against the Wells Trust. The immediate aftermath: Robert opened the envelope. His face drained of all color. The entire room fell silent as he tried to comprehend the devastating legal exposure. Kyle, still smiling, nudged his father. Dad? What is it? Is it bad news about the merger? Robert dropped the papers and looked at Kyle. The land, the trust, it's all invalid, Kyle. We are facing billions in fines. It's gone. Kyle's reaction was the ultimate payoff. He didn't look at his father. He looked at me. His mouth opened in a silent scream of pure, absolute financial terror. The BMW and his entire future were built on that invalid land deal. I stood my ground, my dress shimmering under the spotlights. Helen rushed to me, her eyes manic. Kira, please. You can fix this. You're a lawyer. Tell them you made a mistake. This is your family. You made your choice, Helen, I said, my voice cold. You gave me a rag and told me it was my worth. You valued a piece of cleaning cloth over the soul of your daughter. I used the only currency you understand: legal destruction. Robert just stared at the papers. Why didn't you ask for the money? Why didn't you just ask for the $4 million? Because, I replied, I didn't want the money. I wanted the truth. I wanted the freedom to never be controlled by your greed again. You broke the law to get rich. I used the law to get free. I had the satisfaction of watching their empire crumble due to the restrictive covenant I uncovered. The BMW was seized. Kyle lost his startup funding. The ultimate conclusion: I didn't gain millions. But I gained something far more valuable: the knowledge that I had finally ended the toxic script they had written for me. I was Kira, The artist, the independent woman, and the one who chose integrity over the competitive shadows of New York City.